Hello and welcome. How are you people doing tonight? I'm doing splendidly. Um, just went live on the Facebook page. If you're not on the Facebook page, I highly suggest you being there on the Facebook page and watching my live streams on there because I'm gonna try to do one just about every day. Gonna try. so anyways, what we're here tonight is the stand-up. What we're here to do tonight is the stand-up. And with the stand-up comes three basic questions that I want to follow as the format of this particular show. And that is, what have we accomplished? What have we done that's been a positive force or influence on the community? Next would be, what are we currently working on? What are we doing currently that that is helping our society, our community, our movement, everything. What is that? And then finally, we have what is holding us up in the world. Well, tonight we have a few very positive stories to start out with that I would like to cover under what we have accomplished. And I think that what we have accomplished is great. If you guys don't remember, a while ago, this girl right here, I believe it's Caitlin Campbell. She attended a sex education class that was primarily the sex education class was primarily Christian, and it basically taught some pretty fucked up things. Like, if they had any kind of sexual contact before marriage, it was considered impure, and they were guaranteed to get STDs and all other kinds of shit all up in their junk. And their mouths, and probably some in their eyes, maybe some in their ears if they do the whole Family Guy ear fucking thing. I don't know, but they were teaching pro abstinence. Now, if you guys don't remember, Barack Obama recently passed a resolution or law, whatever, that cut off funding for abstinence only education in the United States. What up there, Ichiago Kurosaki and George, and of course the default Caitlin Chloe, who is an admin on the Facebook page that really does help me make it as great as it is. But back to Caitlin's story here, she spoke out against them. She let the media know. And you know how her principal responded to her letting the media know and her basically going to the next step because her concerns were not being heard? Well, he basically threatened to tell the college she had been accepted into that she was, let's see, direct quote here, quote, "How would you feel if I called your college and told them what a bad character you have and what a backstabber you are?" I mean, come on, principal. Are you 12? Is that what you are? Are you 12? Is that why you're telling her that she's a backstabber? That just sounds like something a 12-year-old or like a prepubescent child would say to somebody. It's like, "You darn backstabber," kind of deal. But to their credit here, Wellesley actually heard about her particular story and decided to support her directly on Twitter very publicly, basically saying that we can't wait to have her. And I think that's awesome. That's just fantastic as fuck, if you say, if I may say, to have your college that you've been accepted into not bow to the whims of Christian bullying. And that is bullying, by the way. Like, I don't know if you know, but I recently covered a video where somebody said that it was bullying to pull your business out of, like, North Carolina, like PayPal and whatnot. I believe that was Pastor Locke. But that's not bullying. This is bullying for your principal to come up to you and be like, "Hey, I'm going to tell the school that you're accepted into that you're just a shitty-ass person and you backstab people and whatnot. You can't be trusted." What up there, Anime Night? But that's bullying. That's legit bullying. And so the administrators apparently changed the rules about who could speak at the graduation, and it pretty much prevented her from giving a speech. So basically, they turned about all middle school on her ass and just was like putting their foot down. It's like, you got us in trouble. Yeah, we're telling somebody, or we're controlling shit. We're doing something that's gonna fuck with you because you hurt us, is basically what they were saying. Now, You may be wondering why this is an accomplishment. I mean, this happened a while ago. Well, recently she was named a Truman Scholar, and it's one of the most prestigious scholarships in the nation. It's pretty awesome. And so the honor, this particular honor, comes with a number of perks for her. Each Truman Scholar receives up to $30,000 for a graduate study. Scholars also receive priority admission and supplemental financial aid at some premier graduate institutions, leading training, career and graduate school counseling, and special internship opportunities with the federal government. And it's a very much deserved accomplishment. I have this particular story linked down below. I highly suggest you going down there and reading up on the story. As I always say, don't take my word for it. Investigate for yourself. Find out for yourself. Develop your own opinions about the situation. But this is a good story. This is good. This is great. I love it. Next, though, what we have is Tennessee. Tennessee has repealed protections for faith-healing parents. And, this was sitting up there for a little bit now. And, basically there are shield laws in about 6 states in America. Hey there, Jennifer Stockings. How are you doing there? Anime. I see why there's I see why there's a little bit more people watching today, I guess. But 6 states in the United States have shield laws on the books that protect religious parents from actively killing their children, because they have faith in God and they want to faith heal these kids. And so Tennessee actually passed a resolution that stopped that particular act. And the particular part of it is, quote, the child is being provided, the controversial 1994 law provided a shield from protection of child neglect if the child is being provided treatment by spiritual means through prayer alone in accordance with the tenets or practices of a recognized church or religious denomination by a duly accredited practitioner of the recognized church or religious denomination in lieu of medical or surgical treatment. That's pretty fuckered. I mean, if you can imagine some girl with diabetes and her parents are just sitting around her praying to God hoping that she'll be fixed, is pretty fucked up. I mean, I have diabetes, and this particular situation has indeed happened. Maybe not in Tennessee, but it's happened elsewhere. So, it's not something I'm just pulling out my ass here. Now, this is just horrible in my opinion. I mean, there's this other girl, Mariah Walton, who's out there. She's a victim of faith healing, and she wants to see her parents prosecuted. But I do believe she lives in Idaho. Idaho, and there is no fucking way that she's going to be able to get that kind of justice. There's no way that she's going to be able to get any kind of justice because Idaho is one of those 6 shield states. Now, let's see. The president of CHILD, which is Child's Healthcare is Legal Duty, was very much behind this bill, and what CHILD is, which you can look them up on the internet. They have actually talked about and recorded the laws in particular states that protect parents from prosecution, and they've documented that. They've let everybody know what the problems are. So I definitely suggest going and checking that site out in particular. But the legislation also had backing from the FFRF, so there's that. But it was repealed, and that is the main focus, is that it did get repealed, that it's off the books, and children will no longer die in Tennessee, at least, due to faith healing. And the parents will still run the risk of being prosecuted, so hopefully that cuts down on the number of parents that actually practice it. But, we'll just have to wait and see however many other states actually follow this. Next, we have a letter from the FFRF has, convinced a Florida school district to permanently ban Christian chaplains from their campuses. Now, what I have to say about this, because as you can see the picture right here, 3 players in my schools had babies last month, so I felt the need to have a heart-to-heart talk with the football players at King's High School about God's rules on sex. That's fucking wrong, dude. You shouldn't do that. We also shouldn't be allowing chaplains to actually, have access to kids during school hours. Now, I'm not saying that chaplains shouldn't have access to kids. I'm saying that they shouldn't have access to kids in school hours. Yeah, I know there, Jennifer. What do you think about the story there, Jennifer? Other than that it's just crazy. I mean, can you believe that they actually let this chaplain on there? But anyways, if we start allowing chaplains on there, then we need to start allowing Muslims to come on there. Like if somebody wanted a Muslim to come in and talk about what Allah says about it, I mean, how are you going to feel? What you have to know is that the freedom of religion protects against doing this. It's hard for Christians to believe that, but it really is. It's ridiculous that they want to break that, because it's the only thing protecting the government from getting into their shit. I don't know why they would want the government in their shit. They're pretty adamant about the government staying the fuck out of their shit, not knowing what the fuck they're doing behind closed doors, and especially not affecting their particular dogma in any kind of way. Hence, the Idaho GOP representative that actually argued for parents killing their kids because it was part of their faith via faith healing. So I think that allowing this chaplain on there should have been like a duh fucking thing. Like, oh shit, maybe we shouldn't have done this. It's pretty fucking stupid to allow this chaplain on here during school hours and let him talk to these kids about God's rules on sex. There's no guarantee that all of these kids actually believe in God or even care about what the fuck God thinks about sex. Not only that, but God's got the oldest sex education book in the world. I mean, God has a sex education book that says, hey, no premarital sex or you're gonna burn in hell. And that's pretty much it. As we heard in Caitlin's story, the abstinence only teacher, which is what God's sex manual says, abstinence fucking only, is that it doesn't work. It's been shown not to work. So there's no point in talking about God's rules on sex, because God's rules on sex is don't have sex till you're married. Then when you do get married, don't divorce her. Don't, like if you end up not happy or some shit, don't divorce her. Stay miserable the rest of your life. And then, according to one particular pastor in the United States here, bait her if she gets out of line. But with this whole chaplain thing, we've been seeing more chaplains come into our school system, being let in there, and then students making some grandiose stand against the secular community, or not the secular I guess the secular community, because I mean, even if a Christian were to come in and be like, hey man, you can't do that. I mean, I would still consider that to be like a secular action, because it has no regards to religion as far as it comes to government, politics, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that they are completely a part of the secular community, but I would say that that is a pretty secular action of them, because it doesn't have anything to do with God as far as their motivation to go over there and do that. It has everything to do with keeping God out of schools. That's neither here nor there. But anyways, so that's it. I would love to know what you need to, or what you think. Let's see. CC's a cool cat. I love CC. CC's my best bro. Let's see. Do you like Leafy? I actually haven't watched Leafy all the time. I should watch some Leafy, shouldn't I? I spend enough time on YouTube that I should watch some of these people. Let's see. Peachy Keen says, my high school went the correct route after a couple of girls had kids. They taught us about condoms. That long time ago, though, that was a long time ago. Things have changed. Church people have gotten more hard-headed. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They have gotten a lot more hard-headed. Ryan Waters! I left this open in the background while playing Total War. When it started, it freaked me out. Well, no, I don't think the school failed on the background check of this guy. I just think that they let him in there and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're going to talk about God? Fuck yeah, talk about God." Let's see. Sorry. All right. So now we've got Pat Robertson video. Pat Robertson has the crazy kooky idea that trans people are faking it, basically. So let's hear what Pat Robertson has to say, and then we'll talk about it.
Pat, it has become quite a bitter debate.
I am simply appalled. And ladies and gentlemen, you've got all this outrage on these people. A lot of them, think they're a woman trapped in a man's body, and then 10 years later they say, well, I made a mistake. Yeah, sure. Okay. But in Saudi Arabia, they're going to execute maybe as many as 100 homosexuals. They will be executed because they're practicing homosexuals. Why don't the Bruce Springsteens of this world and these others go out and begin an outrage against Saudi Arabia instead of Charlotte, North Carolina? But I think it's just perfectly reasonable to say, look, we don't want men going into women's bathrooms. We don't want predators going out where little girls are. We don't want voyeurs having free access to the women's locker rooms during games when they're changing clothes. We just don't want that. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. And why people are in such outrage about this whole thing, we haven't heard much about this transgender stuff until about the last 5 years or so. And I said on this program several years ago, if somebody, honest to goodness, feels that she is a woman trapped in a man's body, then she has a perfect right to take hormones and to have surgery and to change to what she really feels and think of somewhere along the way there was a biological mistake. But people like that are relatively rare. So much of this other stuff is put up, it's put on, and it's just a fraud. And it's one more opportunity for the left to demonstrate against some aggrievement they claim to have that doesn't exist. This is a phony cause to get involved in.
Okay, I need to stop him right there. There's a little bit left, but it's actually not phony, and it's not rare for them to go through the full transition. A lot of times some people are restricted from going through the transition. Maybe they didn't feel comfortable enough to actually go through it and do it till later because of societal pressures. So Pat Robertson there, buddy, I would say that you're flat out either misinformed, or you just don't know, maybe you're ignorant, or you're willfully dumb about the subject. I'm betting on the latter, although ignorant does seem like an old person's kind of route to go on this particular matter. As far as it being like a choice, as what you're making it out to be, because you said, well, maybe they made a wrong choice later on down the road. It's actually scientifically proven, let me rephrase that. It's being scientifically proven, and there's a lot of evidence to support this already, that it is in fact genetic, and it is in fact chemical in your body that you have this gender dysphoria. Now, how you know that is that there have been studies done that have said that have proven through facts, evidence, testing, and all that kind of good shit that science does, that the female brain, of course, looks different than the male brain, and there are a few characteristics of it that make it that way. And those that suffer from gender dysphoria have shown in tests, in multiple tests, not just like one test, but multiple tests, have been shown to actually display physiological characteristics that can't be seen, that are exactly the ones of the opposite sex that they currently look like, more the ones that they experience and identify with. So for you to sit there and say that it's some kind of choice, or act like it's some kind of choice, and that somebody can just up one day and go into a locker room and be like, oh, I'm a girl now, you can't throw me out. I'm sorry, but cross-dressers are not transgendered. There are transgenders that will dress as the sex that they identify. Some transgenders will go all the way with the transition. Every person's going to be different. But to chalk it up to them being some old hairy man that just cross-dresses just to get into the bathroom or something like that is ridiculous. It really is. And for him to push this particular thing and to fearmonger people and to confirm their biases, submit to that confirmation bias that Christians love, I think that it's pretty ridiculous for him to act this way, I guess. Let's see what else he's got to say, though.
And well, I've got to look after the transgenders. This is nonsense. I believe, as I say, there's no sin if somebody has some kind of hormones going for male and some kind of body part goes for female, and somewhere along the way the person has got to decide which gender they are. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Then why are you misrepresenting their entire position on this? Why are you saying that these people are going... Because if you don't know, Pat, okay, I'm sure you don't, but if you don't know, with the shit that you're saying right now and the position of most, if not all, Christians right now about the bathroom issue, the laws that you would pass would include those that were born, male or female. Okay? And so if they were born male or female, then guess what? Yeah, look at that guy. He's pretty buff, isn't he? I mean, look at that motherfucker. I mean, he is toned as shit, man. I mean, look at him. Isn't he awesome? Oh, yeah, by the way, Pat Robertson, this guy right here, he would definitely be going to the women's restroom because he's got a pussy. Yeah. Well, not just because he's got a pussy, because that doesn't make a woman, but, he was born a woman, is what I meant to say. He was born a woman, so he would have to use a woman's restroom. How would you like it if your wife had to share the restroom with this guy? Because the exact thing that you're saying that you're worried about, some guy walking into the women's restroom to get a peep show, is the exact same thing that you're pushing yourself into. Not to get a peep show part, but the part where a man walks into the women's restroom, because he is a man. For all intents and purposes, he is a man. He identifies as a man. He looks like a man. He is a buff motherfucker. He would have to use the women's restroom. And, of course, Pat, I made this for Pastor Locke, but, it applies here. Yeah. Pat would have to share the restroom with this lovely lady because she was born with a dick. That's why she was born, or that's how she was born, so therefore, boom, Pat Robertson would have to share a restroom with her. Now, are you worried about a woman going into the men's restroom? Because you don't seem to be bitching about that. You don't seem to be bitching about that prospect. I wonder why. Not that you could get it up. But, let's see what else he's got to say.
No problem. But to make a cause célèbre and tear a city apart and boycott cities and all the rest of it because they want to protect the dignity of their own people is just absurd.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's absurd that this man wants to use the men's restroom, whereas you would rather him use the women's restroom just because he's got a pussy. And I know that he's got a pussy. I've seen porn of him having a pussy and getting fucked by a transgendered woman who had a dick. So just rule 34 that right out your head. What up there, Oswald? How you doing? But in all, Pat Robinson, or AKA the Crypt Keeper, is just delusional as fuck as ever. So there's nothing new there. But for the highlights, we got a fraud in the house. Whoop, whoop. If you guys don't know, there was a gay pastor by the name of Jordan D. Brown. And recently, he came to Whole Foods and he got himself a cake. Well, curiously, that cake, my guess is that it didn't have anything on it, that it wasn't special in any kind of way. It was a regular, like, white cake, not sheet cake, but it was just a white cake with vanilla frosting, what the fuck ever on it. He goes home and he writes, "Love wins, fag." And the reason why I can say this is because Whole Foods actually has evidence. What they have evidence of exactly is the fact that that there was security footage that showed the cashier scanning the barcode was on top of it, but when he made his video, it was on the side, kind of like it had been taken off and then put back on the side because he didn't know where the fuck he took it off from. But there's been some new interesting facts about his particular case that have come up. One in particular is that he defaulted on a $27,000 student loan. He pretty much just stopped paying for it because I'm fairly certain that gay pastor doesn't make too much money unless you've got a huge congregation. You got a huge congregation, you're rolling in bank. You know what I'm saying? Just look at Joshua Feuerstein. He makes a shit ton of money. He really does, either from that website or what the fuck ever. But then something more interesting is that the church that he supposedly runs, they found an address listed in the lawsuit. The lawsuit matched the address of the church, right? And apparently what this motherfucker did was he found a random apartment complex and listed it as his church. Although he's never met there with other people or himself. He's never been there before. The apartment complex owner is kind of confused as to why he's fucking listed as a church. But I think that this really does fall under the whole idea that this falls under the whole idea of what is holding us up. This guy, he fraudulently put a gay slur on a cake in hopes that he would get a lot of money. But to be quite honest, instead of filing a lawsuit, he really should have started a GoFundMe. That's what he should have started, because people are very gullible about GoFundMes, which maybe I shouldn't even be talking about GoFundMes right now, but he would have done that with GoFundMe. Maybe he was thinking about the legalities of it with the GoFundMe. I don't know. But he would have had a lot more success with a GoFundMe page, listing a fraudulent thing on GoFundMe, getting a lot of funds. There have been multiple places that have done that. So I just think that he should have done that. Although not to give him any kind of ideas now. Of course, I don't think anybody would give him money now. But, I really think that this particular story, as well as others like it, where people are faking shit in order to gain some kind of monetary thing or whatnot, I think is pretty deplorable, is pretty horrible. And I just think that this guy has done a bit more harm to the LGBT community because it gives people ammo. It gives them ammo to say, hey, you people are just faking it with all these, cake things and whatnot. You're just faking it. You're just trying to get money. So that kind of gives them a little bit of ammunition there. It doesn't matter if it is true or not. It just matters that it's out there. That's what I'm saying. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight for the stand-up. Remember, the stand-up is answering 3 questions, and I hope that I did that tonight. It's what have we accomplished, and then what are we working on currently, and finally, what the fuck is holding us up? What do we need to focus on next? And I think this could be one of the things that we need to focus on next, which we're already kind of focusing on and outing people that are frauds. I just think that we need to do it accurately. We need to do the research, and once you accuse them, you bring the evidence forward as soon as you accuse them as being a fraud. That's what Hemant Mehta did on The Friendly Atheist. I know I gave him a link to the video, the security video and whatnot. A lot of people did. So, just go down below into the description box and click on those links, learn for yourself, do the research yourself, and I hope that that you will come to your own conclusions instead of just having my conclusions. I don't want you to have my conclusions. I want you to have your conclusions. Okay? So do that for me. Do it right now. Come back. Leave a comment on this video about what you think about these stories, and I will love you forever. Mwah. I'll see you guys later. I'm going to be going and playing some Assassin's Creed 2, stabbing up some motherfuckers over there. And I hope that you guys can come and join me on Godless Engineer Plays. And I'll see you guys later.